The sun had barely risen over the rugged plains of the Old West when a young settler stumbled upon something he never expected. A native boy, wounded and alone, hidden beneath the tall grasses. In a land where suspicion and fear often ruled the hearts of men, this moment was a fragile breath of humanity in a harsh and unforgiving world. What happened next would not only test the limits of courage and kindness, but also change the course of their lives forever. With the boy's shallow breaths and broken body weighing heavily on his arms, the settler knew the dangers that lurked nearby. The unforgiving wilderness, wild beasts, and the harsh judgment of neighbors who saw the native tribes as enemies. Yet, something deeper stirred within him, a silent promise to protect this fragile life, no matter the cost. Every careful step toward safety was a defiance of the harsh divide between worlds, a whisper of hope in a time marked by conflict. As night fell and the fire crackled beneath a sky thick with stars, a bond was forged, unspoken but unbreakable. The settler tended the boy's wounds, his heart beating with a quiet determination that this act of mercy would not be forgotten. The lines drawn by prejudice and fear seemed to blur in the glow of that small campfire, where two souls from different worlds shared a fragile moment of trust. Then, as dawn broke on the following day, the settler's life was forever altered. His land, once empty and silent, became a testament to an unexpected gratitude. The ground was covered with animal skins and food, gifts from the boy's people, a powerful and humble sign of respect and thanks. It was a reminder that even in the wildest frontiers, compassion could build bridges stronger than any gun or grudge. This story is not just about survival. It is a timeless lesson about humanity, courage, and the unexpected ways kindness can ripple through even the toughest lands. Stay with us as we journey into a moment of the Old West where hearts beat in defiance of fear, and one act of bravery changed everything. The morning after that fateful night, the settler awoke with the weight of responsibility pressing down harder than the dawn sun. The boy's shallow breaths still echoed softly in his ears, and every ache in his arms reminded him that this fragile life depended on his strength. In a world defined by harsh survival, he understood that saving the boy was just the beginning of a journey filled with uncertainty and danger. Yet, something deeper was unfolding, something that defied the brutal reality of the frontier. As he looked out over the vast expanse of his land, once empty and silent, his mind raced with the implications of what he had done. The neighbors might see him as foolish, even traitorous, for caring for one they considered the enemy. Prejudice ran as deep as the rivers that carved the valleys, and yet his heart would not allow him to turn away. That simple act of carrying the boy to safety was a silent rebellion against the hatred that divided them all. The boy's eyes fluttered open briefly, revealing a spark of life that seemed to mirror the settler's own hope. Despite the pain etched on the boy's face, there was a silent communication between them, one of trust forged not in words but in deeds. The settler's hands, roughened by years of toil and hardship, were now instruments of healing and compassion. In this moment, the frontier was no longer a place of endless conflict, but a place where humanity dared to bloom. Outside the fragile shelter they made by the campfire, the wilderness carried on its indifferent rhythm. The wind whispered through the trees, and the distant howl of coyotes reminded the settler that danger was never far. Every shadow seemed to hold a threat, every noise a warning. Yet, within that fragile bubble of firelight, there was a growing sense of peace. It was a peace born from the courage to care when the world urged him to harden his heart. This first day was marked by a quiet determination, an unspoken vow to protect the boy until he could walk again. The settler gathered herbs and water, his knowledge of the land now serving a purpose beyond mere survival. Each moment spent tending to the boy's wounds deepened a bond that transcended the violence of the past. In the wild and unforgiving West, where trust was rare and often costly, a seed of something new was beginning to grow. As the sun climbed higher on the second day, the settler found himself reflecting on the fragile alliance forming between two worlds long divided by fear and misunderstanding. The native boy, though weak, had shown glimpses of resilience that mirrored the harsh land surrounding them. His gratitude was silent but powerful, spoken in the language of small gestures, a nod, a faint smile, a tightened grip of the hand. It was a language the settler understood deeply, one that needed no translation. But the tension of their situation lingered like the dust that settled over the plains. The settler knew that returning the boy to his tribe was not as simple as it seemed. The frontier was a place of constant suspicion, where acts of kindness were often met with hostility or worse. Yet, the settler's resolve only hardened. He would face whatever challenges awaited, fueled by the quiet hope that their story might shift the hearts of those around them. That evening, as darkness crept across the land, a surprising sight greeted the settler at the edge of his property. There, arranged with careful intention, lay an offering of animal skins and fresh food. It was a gesture that spoke louder than any words, a message of thanks and respect from the boy's people. The settler's heart swelled with emotion, realizing that his compassion had sparked a bridge between cultures that many believed could never be crossed. In the days that followed, the settler learned that this exchange was only the beginning. The gifts were not just material tokens, but symbols of a newfound understanding. Stories traveled quickly across the frontier, and whispers of the settler who had carried a wounded boy to safety began to spread. Some viewed him with suspicion, others with admiration, but no one could deny that something extraordinary had happened here, something that challenged the harsh narratives of the West. Amidst the vast, untamed wilderness, where survival often meant choosing sides, this story stood out as a beacon of hope. It was a reminder that even in the toughest times, kindness could build connections stronger than fear or prejudice. The settler's journey was no longer just about protecting one life. It had become a testament to the power of mercy, courage, and the unyielding spirit of humanity in the Old West. The following morning brought a sense of cautious optimism. The settler could see the boy's strength returning, slow but steady, like the first shoots of grass after a harsh winter. Every movement the boy made was a victory against the odds stacked high by the brutal wilderness and the harsh realities of their divided world. The settler's hands trembled not from fatigue, but from the weight of what this recovery symbolized, a fragile hope that peace might bloom where there was once only fear. Yet, despite the small triumphs, the tension simmered beneath the surface. Whispers among the neighboring settlers grew louder, some questioning the man's loyalty and motives. In a time when alliances were clear and suspicion ruled the land, the settler's act of kindness was seen by many as dangerous. But he refused to be swayed by fear or gossip. He understood that true courage was standing firm in the face of isolation, guided only by what his heart knew to be right. The boy's tribe, too, was watching from afar, unsure how to respond to the settler's unexpected mercy. The frontier had bred generations of mistrust, and old wounds ran deep. But the gifts left on the settler's land were not the only signs of a changing tide. Scouts from the tribe quietly approached, bringing news and a willingness to listen. Slowly, the invisible walls between them began to crumble, brick by brick, with every shared moment of respect. Underneath the vast skies, the settler and the boy began to learn from each other, lessons that no book could teach. The boy showed the settler the hidden trails and the secret signs of the land, teaching him a language written in nature's own hand. In return, the settler shared stories of his own struggles and dreams, revealing a humanity that transcended color and culture. Their bond became a living bridge between two worlds. But the greatest test was yet to come. The fragile peace they had forged was a whisper against the roar of old hatred. As rumors spread, both settler and tribe faced mounting pressure to abandon this newfound connection. Yet, their determination to protect one another refused to waver. In a land where survival often meant hardening the heart, they chose to embrace compassion as their strongest weapon. One evening, under a sky scattered with stars, the settler sat beside the boy and felt a profound shift stirring in the air. The land itself seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting to witness the unfolding of a story that would be told for generations. The gifts of animal skins and food left by the tribe had multiplied, transforming the once barren land into a symbol of unexpected alliance and respect. This was no longer just the settler's land. It had become a meeting place of shared history and hope. Word of the settlers' compassion began to reach distant corners of the frontier, carried by travelers and traders who marveled at the strange but beautiful tale. Some settlers scoffed, clinging to old prejudices, but many others saw the possibility of a different future. The harsh lines drawn by fear and conflict were blurring, replaced by the possibility of understanding. It was a fragile peace, but peace nonetheless. In quiet moments, the settler and the boy spoke of dreams, of a future where their children would grow up without the shadows of hate looming over them. They dreamed of a land where kindness was the currency and trust the foundation. It was a vision as vast as the plains themselves, fragile yet fierce, carrying the promise of something greater than either could achieve alone. Yet, even in this fragile peace, danger lurked. Not all hearts on the frontier were ready to embrace change. The settler received warnings, veiled threats meant to shake his resolve. The boy's tribe faced pressures from within, voices calling for vengeance and caution. But in the face of these storms, their bond only grew stronger. They had become more than protector and ward. They were allies in a fight for a better tomorrow. This chapter of their story was still being written, etched into the land with every act of kindness, every shared meal, and every step taken together. It was a testament to the power of mercy in a world that so often demanded brutality. And as the stars watched silently above, the settler and the boy stood firm, a beacon of hope burning brightly against the vast darkness of the Old West. The dawn broke with a fierce wind that swept across the plains, as if nature itself was urging change upon the land. The settler woke with a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that their fragile peace was on the brink of something greater. The boy, now stronger but still wary, shared stories of his people's ancient ways, stories that spoke of harmony with the earth and respect for all living things. These stories, once foreign, now resonated deeply in the settler's heart, transforming his view of the world around him. Neighbors who had once cast suspicious glances began to observe the settler's land with curiosity instead of contempt. The gifts of food and animal skins had not been forgotten. They had become a silent message, a symbol of a new alliance that challenged old boundaries. Whispers of hope traveled through the nearby towns, hope that perhaps the cycle of hatred could be broken by simple acts of humanity and courage. But with every step forward came the shadows of resistance. Some settlers viewed the growing bond with fear, seeing it as a threat to their way of life. They warned of betrayal and danger, their voices harsh and unyielding. Yet the settler, standing firm, knew that breaking free from old prejudices was the true path to survival, not just for himself, but for the future generations who would inherit this land. The boy, now able to walk without assistance, ventured further each day, guided by the settler's steady hand. Together, they explored the wild beauty of the frontier, their laughter echoing across the hills, a sound rare and precious in a land so often marked by silence and sorrow. In those moments, the harsh world around them softened, replaced by a quiet joy born from newfound friendship. This chapter in their journey was more than survival. It was a testament to resilience and the power of connection. The settler and the boy had not only saved each other's lives, but had begun to heal wounds older than either could remember. Their story was becoming a legend whispered on the wind, a beacon that challenged the darkest chapters of the Old West. As the sun dipped low behind the distant mountains, casting long shadows over the land, the settler and the boy found themselves face to face with the true test of their bond. Word had reached the tribe that the settler was harboring one of their own, and tensions simmered beneath the surface of the community. Some elders questioned his intentions, fearing betrayal, while others saw the act as a courageous step toward peace. The settler knew that earning their trust would require more than kindness. It demanded unwavering commitment. In the heart of the wilderness, a meeting was arranged, a gathering where voices were raised, stories shared, and fears confronted. The settler stood tall, not as an outsider, but as a man willing to bridge worlds. He spoke of his belief in unity, of the strength found in compassion, and of the shared dreams that connected them all. His words, honest and heartfelt, began to chip away at the walls of suspicion that had long divided them. The boy, standing beside the settler, shared his own story, the pain of being wounded and left alone, and the unexpected kindness that saved him. His voice, though still young, carried the weight of truth and hope. Together, they painted a picture of a future where trust could replace fear, and where cooperation could build a lasting peace across the frontier. The elders listened, some with tears in their eyes, others with cautious nods. That night, under the same stars that had witnessed their journey from the beginning, a pact was quietly formed. It was not a grand treaty written in ink, but a promise etched in shared experience and mutual respect. The gifts left at the settlers' land were no longer just offerings. They were symbols of a new beginning, a step toward healing a land scarred by conflict. The settler and the boy returned home with a sense of quiet triumph. Their journey was far from over, but this moment marked a turning point, a testament to the courage it takes to stand against division and choose compassion. In the wild expanse of the Old West, where survival often meant solitude and suspicion, they had found strength in unity. Days turned into weeks, and the quiet transformation of the settlers' land began to draw the attention of others beyond the immediate neighbors and tribe. Travelers passing through the frontier spoke in hushed tones about the unlikely friendship blossoming amidst the rugged wilderness. The settler and the boy had become symbols of something rare, a beacon of hope in a world often consumed by conflict and mistrust. Their story spread, carried on the wind like a legend waiting to be told. But with growing attention came new challenges. Not everyone welcomed change or understood the fragile peace forged between two worlds. Shadows of old grudges surfaced as rival factions threatened to disrupt the harmony that was carefully being nurtured. The settler knew that protecting this newfound bond would require vigilance, courage, and an unwavering belief in the power of kindness. The stakes were higher than ever, and the wilderness seemed to hold its breath in anticipation. The boy, now stronger and more confident, began to take on a role beyond that of a survivor. He became a bridge between cultures, translating stories and customs, and helping to build trust where suspicion once ruled. His presence was a living testament to the possibility of unity, a proof that wounds, both physical and emotional, could heal over time. In his eyes, the settler saw the promise of a better future, one where their children could grow free from fear. Together, they continued to nurture the land that had witnessed their journey. The fields that were once barren flourished under their care, mirroring the growth in their hearts. The gifts of food and skins became a shared bounty, symbols of cooperation and mutual respect. Every harvest was a celebration, a quiet victory against the harshness of the frontier and the darkness of old prejudices. Yet beneath the surface, the tension of the past still lingered, a reminder that the road ahead was uncertain. The settler and the boy knew that true peace was not a destination, but a journey, a constant choice to embrace empathy over enmity. Their bond was a living story, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in a land where survival had often come at the cost of connection. One crisp morning, as the first light painted the sky in shades of amber and rose, a visitor arrived at the settler's homestead, an elder from the boy's tribe, carrying an air of solemn respect. The elder's presence was a silent acknowledgment of the journey both men had undertaken, and a bridge to the future they were building together. Words were few but heavy with meaning, a gesture of acceptance and a call for continued unity. The elder shared stories of the tribe's history, tales woven with wisdom, hardship, and the enduring strength of their people. These stories, told under the vast sky, were a gift to the settler, an invitation to understand not just the boy's past but the deep roots that connected him to the land. The settler listened with reverence, humbled by the depth of the culture he had once only seen through the lens of conflict. In return, the settler opened his heart and shared his own story, the struggles of carving a life from the wild, the loneliness of the frontier, and the unexpected grace found in a wounded boy's trust. Their stories intertwined, weaving a tapestry of shared humanity that transcended boundaries. In that moment, the line between settler and native blurred, replaced by a shared vision of peace and possibility. As days passed, the elder's presence became a symbol of the growing alliance, a reminder that healing was not only possible but already underway. Together, The settler, the boy, and the tribe began to craft a new narrative. One where cooperation replaced conflict, and where respect for the land and each other was paramount. It was a fragile beginning, but one built on the strongest foundation: trust. Amidst the rolling hills and endless skies, the settler felt a profound sense of belonging. No longer a lone figure in a harsh world, but part of something greater. This was more than survival. It was the rebirth of a land and a people, united by the courage to embrace hope over fear. The seasons shifted, painting the landscape in vibrant hues of autumn and winter's quiet white. The settler's land, once a mere patch of wilderness, had blossomed into a sanctuary where cultures converged and stories intertwined. The boy, now a young man, walked with a confidence born not only from physical healing, but from the strength of belonging. Together, they had transformed more than just land. They had rewritten a chapter of the Old West that few dared to imagine. But peace is often tested where the past's shadows linger longest. Word reached them of outsiders, men hardened by years of conflict and distrust, who viewed this new alliance as a threat to their way of life. The settler understood that these forces would not simply disappear with goodwill. Protecting their fragile harmony meant standing firm against those who clung to the old ways of division and violence. The boys' tribe rallied behind the settler, their unity a quiet but powerful defiance. Gifts and offerings became acts of solidarity, symbols of a shared future that no threat could easily undo. It was a testament to the bonds forged in fire and blood, nurtured by acts of courage and kindness that echoed through the plains. The settler and the boy were no longer just survivors. They were pioneers of a new era. Their story, once whispered in secret, had begun to inspire others across the frontier. Tales of compassion breaking barriers, of enemies becoming friends, travel on the wind like sparks ready to ignite hope in barren hearts. It was a story the Old West needed, proof that humanity could triumph over hatred, and that even the most unlikely friendships could shape the destiny of a land. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the plains, the settler and the boy stood side by side, their eyes fixed on the future. It was uncertain, yes, but it was theirs to shape. With every step forward, they honored the journey that had brought them here, a journey of mercy, trust, and the unyielding power of hope. In the stillness of that twilight, the settler reflected on the profound transformation that had taken place, not just in the land around him, but within himself. The walls built by fear and prejudice had crumbled, replaced by bridges of understanding and respect. He realized that true strength lay not in domination or division, but in the courage to extend a hand when the world expected a fist. The boy, now a man whose scars had healed, but whose spirit remained unbroken, embodied the resilience of both their worlds. His presence was a living testament to the possibility of healing wounds old as time, a symbol of unity amid chaos. Together, they had defied the brutal narratives of the Old West and carved out a new legacy, one defined by compassion and the enduring power of human connection. Their story would be told for generations, not as a mere tale of survival, but as a powerful reminder that even in the harshest lands, kindness could take root and flourish. It was a legacy that challenged the very foundations of fear and hatred, illuminating a path toward reconciliation and hope. This was the true frontier, one where hearts dared to change and futures were rewritten. As night fully settled over the plains, the settler and the man looked up at the stars, silent witnesses to their journey and the promise of what was yet to come. The land beneath them was no longer just earth and sky. It was a testament to the courage it takes to choose mercy, the strength found in trust, and the unbreakable bonds forged by shared humanity. In the end, this was more than a story of a boy carried to safety. It was a story of a world transformed by a single act of kindness, a world where hope outshone fear, and where even the wildest frontier could be tamed by the power of compassion. In the vast, untamed wilderness of the Old West, a single act of kindness became a spark that ignited a transformation far greater than anyone could have imagined. The settler's choice to carry a wounded boy to safety was not just an act of mercy. It was a bold stand against fear, division, and the bitter legacy of conflict. Their story reminds us that even in the darkest times, compassion has the power to heal wounds deeper than the eye can see. Throughout this journey, we have seen how courage is not defined by the battles won or the lands claimed, but by the willingness to open one's heart despite the risks. The bridge built between the settler and the boy stood as proof that trust and empathy can flourish even where suspicion has long reigned. Their story challenges us to question the walls we build around ourselves and to embrace the strength found in unity. What if we dared to carry the wounded among us? What if kindness became the currency of our lives, replacing judgment and fear? The Old West was a harsh frontier, but this story shows that even the wildest lands can be tamed by mercy and understanding. It's a call to all of us to look beyond differences, to see the humanity in others, and to choose hope over hate. As you reflect on this powerful tale, remember that the greatest journeys often begin with a single step, a choice to act with kindness when it is easiest to turn away. This story lives on because of that brave decision, inspiring us to be the change in our own worlds. Let it remind you that your actions, no matter how small, hold the power to rewrite futures and heal broken bonds. If this story moved you, don't forget to join our community by subscribing and hitting the like button. Share your thoughts in the comments. What act of kindness has changed your life or someone close to you? Your voice matters, and together, we can keep these stories alive, inspiring hope and courage in every corner. Thank you for being here, and until next time, keep your heart open and your spirit brave.